kindly keep your audio on mute because it's being recorded. At the end, you may ask questions and then you can unmute yourself. So right now, we start with the school prayer by Malati. Malati?
Right. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Yeah, I just unmuted. Yeah, okay. O hidden light, vibrant in every atom, O hidden light, shining in every creature, O hidden love, embracing all in oneness, may each who feels himself as one with thee know he is also one with every other.
Thank you. We now move on to the interreligious prayers. We begin with the Gayatri Mantra.
Om Bhur Bhuvasvaha Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Diyo Yo Na Prachodaya. Om Bhur Bhuvasvaha Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Diyo Yo Na Prachodaya. Om Bhurбhuvah Swaha Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Diyo Yo Na Prachodaya. Asatoma Satgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityoma Amritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank you, Malti. And now we have the Zoroastrian prayer by Freni. Freni?
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, you're very clear. You're very clear.
Okay. Shri Pak Dadar Aura Mazdani Madad Hojo Ji. Mushkili Ashan Beram Yazad Ni Madad Hojo Ji. Yatha Ahu Veryo, Yatha Ratush, Ashachi Thacha, Vange Ush, Dazdau Meningo, Shaute Nanam, Angyus Mazdai, Shatrem Chai, Ahurai, Aim, Drigobyo, Dadatavasta Rahem, Yatha Ahu Veryo, Yatha Ratush, Ashachi Thacha, Mange Ush, Dazdau Meningo, Shaute Nanam, Angyus Mazdai, Shatrem Chai, Ahurai, Aim, Drigobyo, Dadatavasta Rahem, Ashem Vahu, Maistam Vasti, Usta Asti, Usta Ahmai, Yadeshai, Vahishtai Hashem. Sarosh Yazat Nim Panaho Joji. Thank you.
Thank you, Freni. We now have the Christian prayer by Ramesh.
Thank you, Sajani. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who have trespassed against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Thank you, Ramesh. We now have Gulu Advani with the Sikh prayer.
Onkar Satnam करता पुरख निर्भव निर्वैर अकाल मूरत अजूनी सैभं गुर प्रसाद जप आद सच जुगाद सच है भी सच नानक हो से भी सच सोचे सोच न हो वही जे सोचे लखवार चुप चुप न हो वही जे लाए रहा लिवतार बुखिया बुख न उतरी जे बन्ना पुरिया भार सह स्यारा पालक हो वही त एक न चले नाल किव सचियारा हुए किव कूरे टूटे पाल हुक्म रजाई चल रहा नानक लिखिया नाल वाहिगुरु जी दा खालसा वाहिगुरु जी दी फतेह बोले सो निहाल सत श्री अकाल.
Thank you, Guru. And as we said earlier, all our prayers today are for Mr. Ram Menon, who passed away 2 days ago. May his soul rest in peace. And now I request...
Sajani, I think Jasmine is there, so she could do the Islamic prayer also.
Jasmine, would you like to do the Islamic prayer?
Yes, sure, sure.
Okay, please do so. Thank you.
Allahu Akbar, Bismillah Rahman Rahim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin wa barik wa salim. Thank you.
Thank you. And now I request Malati to kindly introduce our esteemed speaker. Thank you.
Yes. Welcome to this very, I'm sure it's going to be a very interesting program on conscious forgiveness. It's the first time I've heard of this conscious forgiveness together. Forgiveness I can understand, being conscious I understood, but conscious forgiveness I think has literally triggered a lot of curiosity, and I'm sure everyone here is waiting to hear you, Dr. Sampoorna. So welcome today. And for the information of the rest of the participants, I'd like to tell you a little about Dr. G.L.Sampoorna. Now, Dr. Sampoorna is an extraordinarily talented and fantastic person I can make out from her bio data. I'll give you a short version of it. Anyway, she's a psychologist, an author, a trainer, and she has international recognition in all these fields. She's also an expert in the art of personal growth and transformation. And she has a PhD, which means that she's a doctorate in applied psychology, and that too in the area of forgiveness. Fantastic. Now, forgiveness research and work in India is her interest. And she's also licensed Heal Your Life teacher. And she's a trainer in India and also an NLP master trainer. Well, that's interesting, isn't it, Sajani? You being an NLP person also. And she has supported around 75,000 people, both locally and internationally, and in healing emotional, psychological, as well as psychosomatic problems. Now she is interested and as well as started is something called an awareness integration expansion. That's called AIE. And this is something very holistic, and it supports people to connect within and enables one to lead a deeply fulfilling life. Now that's something I think everybody wants to do nowadays. So we'll follow your talk with great avid interest. RCCL in Chennai, I think it says, targets psychological growth and well-being And RCCL stands for Ratna Center of Conscious Living. So next time I visit Chennai, I think I must contact and see this place. Therapy and coaching of individuals, of couples and families, as well as workshop, mind, body, spirit retreats, corporate trainings. They're all catered to in this place. You can contact her by phone or in person or online. And at the end of the program, I think, Swati, you can put her phone number down so that people can get in touch with her. So I'll hand over the mic now to Sajani, who will start the program and then put on our speaker. And I just can't wait. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Malti. Thank you so much for introducing Doctor. And now it's over to Dr. Sampoorna. Over to you, Doc.
Thank you. My gratitude to the School of Ancient Wisdom for having me here, and a special thanks to Sajani. I think there's somebody speaking.
Kindly mute, Swati, kindly mute everyone excepting the speaker. Swati?
Yes, ma'am, done.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you.
Yeah. And it was really a beautiful way to start with the prayers that you had. And today it's a privilege to share my ideas on forgiveness with all of you with your group. And I believe it's significant for each one here because you're already on a spiritual path as seekers, as leaders, and you know about forgiveness. And every exposure to it will only take your experience of it deeper. I've actually given workshops on forgiveness to nuns, priests, spiritual groups, and it always has a very strong impact. Also, this is a very important time to be talking about forgiveness because people today are in a constant search. They feel there's something missing. And this is the unconscious yearning to live in the present, to live more conscious, more aware. And forgiveness is one simple and effective way to bring us into the present. As children, our hearts are wide open and we embrace the world. But once we become adults, we close ourselves because we would have had many past painful experiences. And we get trapped in our hurt, our fear, our anger, not knowing that we can actually free ourselves. So what does forgiveness do? It liberates us from those chains of hurt, bitterness, and resentment. And we become peaceful with our memories. And then we're able to live a life of love and freedom. So even though we can't change the past, we can release that emotional charge that's attached to it. And we can get all the learnings from whatever happens. And then that changes our present and our future. So forgiveness actually empowers us. And through our own empowerment, we can beam like a lighthouse and illuminate the path for others to empower themselves. So for people like you who are an influence on others, it's very, very relevant. I would like to share a little bit on how I became interested in forgiveness and what that means to me. So my life journey offered me many opportunities to forgive. My father left my mother when I was a toddler. He cheated, betrayed her, and as well as our entire family. Much later, I did work on him. Later on, I had forgiveness work to do when my mother passed away of cancer. I was 22 and she was not happy with my marriage choice. And I used to feel terribly guilty that she had so much misery at the end of her life. I could never think about her or talk about her without a choking sensation and a constriction. And this went on for years. And then I attended a metaphysical program where I was able to release all that guilt that I felt towards my mother. And when I did that, I felt like I'd come out of a deep well. It was life-changing. And after that, I could actually think freely and talk easily about my mother. And I could cherish the beautiful memories of our life together. In reality, I would say I regained that entire chunk of my life by forgiving myself. So I began to see how important forgiveness was. And gradually, I brought forgiveness into my work with clients. And the progress they made was pretty dramatic, both emotionally and even physically. Using conscious forgiveness became a natural part of my one-to-one work. And then I felt it would be good as a workshop. So I developed a workshop on forgiveness. And I used this as the intervention in my doctoral research. My PhD in psychology was on forgiveness. And the results from my research actually showed significant changes in the levels of forgiveness after the intervention and a significant increase in well-being. So there was actually scientific data to show that people's lives really changed. So forgiveness is the clean slate we arrive at through processing our emotions. We reduce the baggage, we discard all the armors and the shields that we surround ourselves with, and we open ourselves to be seen not only by others, but even by ourselves. Our inner core is all love, compassion, and well-being. And when we process our emotions, we are able to access it because we come to that state of forgiveness. And from there, we are able to reach our essence. So forgiveness is the bridge between our wounded state and the essence, the core within us, which is love and compassion. So how exactly will a forgiver benefit? A big gain is freedom. In fact, my workshop itself is called Forgiveness Path to Freedom because it frees us up in all areas. And, you know, whether it's health, relationships, career, finances, whatever it is. So just to give you a few examples to know what can happen from forgiveness. There was a lady who was in one of the workshops and she had a urinary block for about a year because of some surgical procedure that had been done. And she kept blaming her doctor for it. In the middle of the workshop, where we had physical release work that we did, after that she wanted to come and share something. And what she wanted to share was that when she went to the restroom, she was able to freely pass urine. She did not have any more block. She thought it would be temporary. She went home that night. It continued. The next day when she came back to the workshop, she said, it's still the same. The block has completely disappeared. She let go of those emotional blocks that she had, and the physical block also disappeared. There was a lady who had knee pain for about 30 years. She couldn't climb up 2 floors and all that. And in conversation, I mentioned self-forgiveness to her. For a whole week, she canceled all her work and she did self-forgiveness work. And not knowing what was going to happen, she just decided to forgive herself for various things. At the end of the week, she found that her knee pain had disappeared, something which was there for 30 years, and it had just disappeared. Another lady got her sense of taste back after 13 years. So there are so many different stories. I'm just giving you an idea of what can happen. Take relationships. There was a man who was in the workshop and he was so angry with his father. He said there was so much hatred between them that if they were left alone, they would kill each other. It was that bad. And during the processing, all that hatred dissolved and love began to flow. And he started saying, I did not know I had this much feeling for my father, good feelings for my father. And when he went back home, the whole relationship changed. Everything was beautiful. What a gift for himself and his family. If you take career, actually a study showed that financial advisors who learned to be more forgiving had a 24% increase in sales productivity. With finances, there was a lady who did the forgiveness work, and she worked on a particular person who had borrowed money from her and absconded. So she forgave her. And this was many years later, more than a decade. And she forgave her in the workshop because she said, why do I want to carry that with me? And within a few days, the friend called her and repaid the money. Now, it all sounds very, it's like, how can this happen? But it happens. And it's not like one time that it happens. Every day we hear stories, each one sharing what's happened for them. So there's so many benefits from forgiveness. We end up having more trust, more confidence in ourselves. We all want to feel calm and peaceful. We want to be free of rumination, depression, anxiety, unhealthy anger, compulsions, which unforgiveness breeds. Unforgiveness, is like drinking poison and then waiting for the other person to die. Who will die if you drink poison? It doesn't work, right? We kill ourselves. We kill ourselves with the toxicity that unforgiveness produces. Lack of forgiveness makes us less productive, causes health issues, both physically and emotionally. There's a lot of research showing that forgiveness improves health, especially, of course, mental health. So if forgiveness is the answer, why do some people not want to forgive? Why do they prefer to hold a grudge? This is because people do not have a clear understanding of the impact of forgiveness on their well-being. There are a lot of misconceptions about forgiveness, which stop people, including therapists, from using forgiveness. Some people think it's something, not for ordinary people. It's something divine. It's spiritual. It's religious. It's not an everyday way of living. If they understood the value of forgiveness and the benefits of forgiving consciously, people would certainly want to look at it. So now, what does it mean to forgive consciously? How is it different? Conscious forgiveness is to intentionally work step by step through all those disempowering emotions so that you can come to a place of feeling light and free. Conscious forgiveness is a state that we come to. It's not just a decision. Just deciding intellectually to forgive is not enough. It's the beginning, but it's not complete. The decision is a cognitive step, and that has to be followed through with emotional release for the process to be complete. There's a psychologist called Dr. Robert Enright, and he refers to it as pseudo-forgiveness when the emotions are bypassed or pushed down. We want to actually allow the emotions to come up and get released. The letting go process is very, very important. If we want to move forward, we need to create space for what we want. So if we want to buy new clothes, we need to remove some of our old clothes. Even our own breath, it's all the time coming in and going out. We have to let go of the breath to allow the new one to come in. So the same with all that muck that we hold inside of us, all that garbage, that baggage that we're holding on to. So to comprehend the true meaning of forgiveness, we'll just go through some points to distinguish between the myths and truths of forgiveness. Then that will clarify how conscious, genuine forgiveness is different from incomplete or pseudo-forgiveness. So to forgive, we first acknowledge the wrong. The myth is that we excuse, we condone, we justify, or we deny what happened. Like we just say, it's okay, I'm excusing this person because I want to move on. But, or, I justify by saying they didn't know what they were doing. So those are actually, that's not really forgiveness. So the true forgiveness is to acknowledge, to know that the person has actually wronged me. And then experience those feelings and release all that emotional charge. We don't bypass our emotions. we face and acknowledge that the person has wronged, and we release that hurt or anger or whatever charge we are feeling. The next thing is forgiveness is not a swap. A lot of times I hear people say, I can forgive if the offender apologizes. If they feel bad or if they make some amends, then I can forgive. But then that's not forgiveness. That's just an exchange. The truth is that forgiveness is not an exchange. It is to give without expectation. It's unmerited mercy. You don't expect something in exchange, not even an apology. It's an independent act, and it's done to free oneself. It's not about the other person. Because if I'm depending on somebody else's apology, if that person is no longer reachable, if I don't know where that person is, how will I ever come out of that feeling that I'm holding? So it's completely independent. The next one, it is not a cognitive decision. Cognitive decision is only the beginning. Many times people say, I took a decision to forgive, I forgave, and it's done. It's over with. Now I'm not allowing it to bother me. You cannot not allow it to bother you, because it's emotions that are churning inside, right? So the truth is, the decision sets us on the path. That's the first step. I decide to forgive. After that, the more important thing is to process those emotions. So the cognition and the emotions come together. When we process our emotions, then we can complete the process. That plays an integral part. Only then we can reach that state of forgiveness. Now, one very important one, where we hear the myth, forgive and forget. Right? Forgive and forget. That doesn't work at all, because I cannot forget. If I'm forgetting, that means I'm just pushing it down. And if I push it down, then it's going to come and work in some other way. And then sometimes people say, I'm not able to forget, so I can't forgive. Or somebody will say, I forgot about it, so I don't need to forgive. So it's not forgive and forget. True forgiveness is to forgive and remember. But remember how? Remember in a wholesome way. The memory remains without that emotional charge. So we forgive and we remember in a new way. We remember the event as a part of our timeline. It is there in my life. It's a part of my life. No longer holding that emotional charge which upset me or which was eating me up. Another big one is reconciliation. Forgiveness is not reconciliation. A lot of times people mix up the two. Now, to reconcile, we need to forgive. But to forgive, we don't need to reconcile. Forgiveness is independent of reconciliation. Because supposing there's a person who's, let's say the husband has been sexually abusing the child. Now the wife may decide to forgive and may do all the work to forgive. That is to free herself. But she may still decide not to reconcile for various reasons, for the safety of the child and for various other reasons. And that's fine. And it need not be only that situation. Any situation, while reconciliation needs forgiveness, forgiveness does not need reconciliation. Because sometimes people are afraid to forgive because they think they'll be forced to reconcile. They don't need to. Then there's this thing of, they've done something so bad, they don't deserve my forgiveness. Now the truth is, they may not deserve my forgiveness, but I deserve to forgive so that I am not caught in the whirlpool of their misdeeds. Right? Who's suffering? I am suffering. So do I deserve to be free of that? In that case, I deserve to forgive for myself, for my sake. So whether the offender deserves forgiveness or not, we deserve to reap the benefits of forgiveness. We don't want to be caught up in their stuff. Then there's another one, justice. people feel there's no justice for the victim if we forgive the offender. But actually, there's no justice in the victim suffering even more with the toxicity of unforgiveness. Why should the victim have to suffer more and more thinking about it, that offender has done something once and gone? And who's hurting oneself now? The victim, by holding on to that toxicity of unforgiveness. So it is the victim and not the offender who suffers by holding on to the grudge. The offender might be even happy if you're holding on to the grudge. You're doing their job some more. It doesn't make sense at all. So it actually frees up the victim to live their lives. Then sometimes people think forgiveness is a very passive process. It's not active. They think we don't do anything and then we'll allow people to get away with things. They'll continue to do things to us. The truth is, forgiveness is a proactive process of creating change. Through releasing our unforgiveness, we let go of all those old patterns. And because we've let go of the pattern, we prevent further repetition of events. We'll respect ourselves enough because we are no longer holding on to that kind of behavior. And we won't attract that kind of behavior anymore in our lives. We will make sure that people treat us with respect because that's the respect we'll have for ourselves. So it's actually an active and a proactive process of change where we take action instead of reacting. We change the outcome for the future, for the present and for the future. So it's actually benefits us a lot. Then sometimes people think it takes a lot of self-control and a lot of energy and time and effort to forgive. It actually takes a lot of energy to hold on to the grudge because we're all the time thinking about it. Even holding on to it takes energy. And each time we think about it, so much energy is drained. So it takes a lot of energy to hold on to the grudge. And when we release it, we actually gain energy. We become very light. We gain a lot of energy. All that energy that we spend on ruminating over the same issue, you just think of it, how much we go on thinking about the same thing. When we forgive, we gain all that energy on an ongoing basis. Sometimes there's a very strange thing that I've heard where people say, my vengeful feelings motivate me to succeed. My hatred gives me energy. It's because I want to show that person that I've become so successful. That may work in the short term. But actually, hatred drains our energy. And not only that, it attacks our own mind and body. Hatred is toxic. It drains us. It attacks our own immune system. And we can create illnesses for ourselves. So forgiveness will revitalize us by connecting us to our inner resources. And then we can naturally have all the energy we want to achieve what we want. We need not do it using somebody else's issue. Yeah, so another thing that people come up very often here is, why am I doing all the work? Especially if it's a relationship thing, it's like, why am I taking all the effort? Why can't the other person also do some work? Now, we are doing it because we want peace and freedom. We do it for our own sake because we want to gain that peace. We make the effort to forgive so that we can be free. And it's worth investing our time into it so that we can have that life of calm, peace, whatever we're looking for, instead of competing with someone else who's not doing it. It's a kind of resistance, so we want to let go of that resistance and continue to do what we are doing. And then there's one standard thing about, no, this issue is not that big. It doesn't need forgiveness. So people think forgiveness is only for something big. and not for daily issues. The truth is, nothing is too small to forgive. Forgiveness works with the smallest or biggest grievance. In fact, it's the small everyday grudges that eat into our system because of their consistency and persistence. If you think of it, every day, the small things, something the maid did, something the driver did, or something the child did, mother did, father did, husband did, whatever. It's the small things. You didn't come on time, little things. Those are the things which it's kind of cumulative. And that becomes a big thing. So we want to work on small things, big things, everything. So we can bring in compassion, inner power, safety, trust, honesty, resilience. We can elevate our mood, enhance our optimism. Through forgiveness, we can restore our relationships. It helps us grow as a person, and we can find that beauty within ourselves. And we'll find beauty in people also and in things around us also. So there's a lot that we get from forgiveness. And in spite of knowing all this, many times we may not be ready or willing to forgive. Or sometimes we may not be ready or willing to forgive. In that case, what's the alternative? The best thing to do in that situation is to start from where you are. There may be a reason to not want to forgive, and we want to respect that. We want to first understand what we feel. For example, there was a man, he felt that he would be betraying his family if he forgave his brother-in-law. His brother-in-law had cheated the entire family. So he was afraid that forgiving this man would be betraying his family. A part of him wanted to forgive, and another part of him resisted. So when there are different parts within ourselves which are in conflict over whether to forgive or not to forgive, it's best to respect both parts. There's more integrity when we accept and listen to both sides of ourselves. And by listening to both sides, we'll actually be creating some kind of resolution there. We'll first understand ourselves. And that way we'll also be gentle and kind to ourselves. And that will make it easier. And once we do all that, at some point, the virtues of forgiveness will stand out. And the forgiving part of ourselves will be able to bring the resisting part also into its fold. So we want to do it organically and gently, when there is real resistance inside. And even to just be willing to think about forgiveness is itself a step in the right direction. Research in psychology shows that even thinking about forgiveness reduces stress levels and creates a lot of healing in the body. Also, another thing is, when it's hard to forgive someone in particular, we can choose to work with a smaller hurt with someone else who's easier to forgive. Because then we get into that mode, and then that resisting part will understand, okay, this actually works, this makes me feel good. And then it'll start opening up even for something bigger. Yeah. Then there are times when we are the wrongdoers and we are the ones to be forgiven. I'm sure we have, all of us have that. So forgiveness, whether it is for another person or for oneself, is autonomous. It's independent. When we seek forgiveness, we can't claim it or demand it. The other person from whom we are seeking forgiveness has the right not to forgive. And they're justified in how they feel. By expecting their forgiveness after hurting them, we are just placing them in an even more difficult position. So instead, if I've done something wrong to them, I can make peace within myself. I can genuinely apologize. And if I can make some amends without an expectation that the other person will forgive me, because they have a right not to forgive. See, basically what I really want is peace, right? We want peace and a sense of well-being within ourselves. And if I'm the one who's feeling guilty or ashamed, I need forgiveness from myself, not from the other person. Once I forgive myself, they might also start feeling comfortable. That awkwardness might recede. And then they might start feeling compassion towards me. With my mother, she was no longer alive. If we need to get forgiveness from the other person, we are dependent, and it may not be possible at all. If the other person is dead or not reachable anymore, how can we get forgiveness from them? But if I'm able to forgive myself and release myself of that churning inside, I am free. So self-forgiveness is a self-supporting way to become whole again. It can bring us absolution from shame, from guilt, from anger, all these things which hold us in a self-imposed prison. And we live in that prison for years without knowing it, often without even knowing we're in it. And talking about prisons, we worked with offenders in a jail. And while we were doing work with them to connect within, there was a young man. He was weeping with his whole body, kind of crouched and face hidden, sobbing and saying, "I'm so bad." So after a while, I spoke to him and I explained to him that what he had done, which was so bad, was his behavior. And that was not his identity. It was not who he was. He could choose to behave differently if he wanted to. So when he heard that, he thought about it. And he looked at me like he had a new insight. And then I asked him to think of one time in his life where he had actually been loving, where he had done something nice. And he nodded. He had a moment of realization. He nodded. Then I asked him, was it only once, or did you have several times where you did that, where you have been loving? And he replied that there were several times. And all I did was I asked if he could love himself for all those times. He just became quiet. His eyes went moist. And this time it was not in shame. He was grateful to have recognized that he too had goodness within. He gave a smile like he had regained his life. It was a really moving moment. When we acknowledge that we have done something wrong, and then we forgive ourselves, we can move out of that pattern, that old pattern, which we don't like. And we can go forward living our truth. And what is our truth? Our truth is that core, that love, that compassion, that well-being, our very essence. That is our truth. And we can live our truth. So again, there's a question that comes up from people. Is forgiveness permanent? Will it last? Will I get angry again? Or will I get hurt again? Of course we'll get angry again. Of course we'll get hurt again. Forgiveness is a lifelong journey. Nothing is permanent, not even life. So we will get hurt, we will get angry. We are not saints. We are in this human existence with human feelings. And we want to acknowledge what we feel. We would have accumulated stuff over lifetimes. Right? It's not one thing that we did today. In this very life, we would have done so much right from childhood. Besides that, God knows how many lifetimes. And as we become aware, all that old stuff will come to the surface. And we can let go of that scum that floats up. And each time we work on what is already up on the surface, ready to be released. Whatever arises to the surface. And when we express and release that top layer of anger or hurt or resentment or whatever that has come up, when we release that fully, that layer that has come up is dealt with. Okay, that layer is dealt with. But even with that same person, even with that same situation, there may be more layers beneath. So the next deeper layer will still be lurking beneath. It may be unseen right now. And then that will surface when another situation arises. Sometimes it will surface when you're very relaxed and you'll wonder, I'm feeling good now, and why is that getting spoiled? But what happens is, when there is enough space and stillness within us, and that is there when we are relaxed, that's an opening for deeper stuff to come up. That's actually a good thing, because it's coming up because we can release it. And once we know how to release it, we can keep on using methods that we know to keep lightening the load that we are carrying. And we begin to respond differently to the challenges. Challenges will continue to come in life. We'll continue to face them, but we learn how to handle them differently. And each time we release, we feel lighter and lighter, and we are able to make use of our life. In fact, we have a 41-day release to forgive. It's an online recorded program. And because it's online and it's recorded, I was able to participate in the program myself. And I participated in the entire program 2 times, which means 41 days, 82 days, I did the program. And it gave me exponential release. It gave me huge insights and so many shifts in my perspective. Each day, even with the same situation, there was a new layer coming up. It would come up, and in the processing that happened there, it would get released. By the end of it, it was like my life had changed. And every participant found it life-changing. So much lighter by the end of it. And so many things changing in life. Legal issues, so many different things that people were talking about. Health issues, so many different changes. So now you may be feeling, all this sounds good, but how do we do it? Anyone feeling that now? So there is a natural forgiveness process that occurs naturally in life, an organic process. And often we begin the journey. And equally often we leave it halfway, because we don't know that there are more steps to take to forgive it, to actually forgive. So we sometimes stop with a decision. Sometimes we stop with midway with processing. So in my approach to forgiveness, I follow the natural principles, the natural organic way of doing it. The difference is that mood to come to make it happen. We can step in and begin the process at any time. It can be when something happens, it can be about something that happened in the past. And we can just start the process and go through all the steps, do the release, and come to that state of forgiveness. We use different techniques, different processes, bringing them in as little steps, which people can take, making it very doable. I'm actually writing a book on forgiveness, describing and outlining these steps. So now today we can't do it all here, but I would like to show you some simple steps that you can take to begin the process. I mean, what we'll do here is like very, very basic, very simple, something that you can just start, at least to know that even something as simple as this can give you some amount of release. And the very first step is to even ask yourself when something happens, or if you're thinking of something that bothers you, do I want to feel like this? Or do I want to feel better? Even that is the very first thing. How do I feel right now when something is happening, or when you bring up an event? And do I want to feel like this, or do I want to feel better? And right now you can think of something that has upset you, something mild. Don't take a big traumatic thing, because you're not going to go through the whole processing. But think of something. Would you like to do this now? Something experiential?
Yes, that would be very nice.
Okay. So think of something that has upset you, and let it be something mild. And you can close your eyes, think about it, and feel it in your body. Be aware of the feelings, the sensations in your body, and notice where in your body you're feeling it. And with your eyes closed, you just make the sound, ah, ah. You can do that now. Make the sound.
Ah.
Feel it in your body and be aware of that feeling that's there, and keep making that sound over and over again. Ah.
Ah.
Mute, please. Some of you are not on mute.
Do it over and over again. And now this time, as you're doing it, bring your hands also into it, like, ah, ah. You know, as if you're releasing something, you're letting go of something. Ah. Do it a little longer. And then when you're ready, you can open your eyes and you can come back. And this time, notice what's left inside. Notice whether that feeling is the same as it was before. Has it reduced? Just notice. And whatever is left inside this time, we're going to release it with stretching and shaking your hand and shaking your body. And along with that, you shake your voice also, releasing whatever is there. So you stretch first. And if all that is already gone, then take some other, or bring up another incident, which again brings up some emotions that you don't want to have, and some charge that you want to release. And then stretch your body, making the sounds again, and shaking your hand and shaking your whole body, even shaking your whole body. And shaking your voice. And with that, feel also that everything is getting released. Do that now. On your own, you're doing that. Now think of anything more that's coming up. And this time express it all out in gibberish, like this. You know, whatever is coming up. So you're speaking without knowing what you're saying. You're allowing the emotional charge to get released. And you're not using words for it. You're releasing it through gibberish. So you don't, even when you're saying gibberish, you don't want to form the words. In gibberish also, you don't want to form the words. You don't want to say, it's not like that. It's just, start. Allow whatever is coming up to come up and release it using gibberish. Keep going. Use your hands, use your body, use your voice. And then when you feel like it's over, you can come into silence and stay with your eyes closed. Come into silence and stay with your eyes closed. And notice how it feels inside of you, staying in silence. Notice how it feels now. Become aware of the release. And if there's anything left, any little bits left, make the ah sound again a few times. Ah. And then stay in silence for a few moments. And then you can open your eyes and you can come back. This time I'm going to lead you through another exercise where you can again close your eyes, and you can close your eyes, everyone, and think of an event where there's some discord, some problem, maybe between you and another person, whatever. And imagine that scene happening. Imagine in your mind that scene with yourself and another person. And now you become an ant and go into that scene. As an ant, you're watching yourself and you're watching the other person going through the incident. As an ant crawling all over them and around them, notice how it feels now. And then become yourself. And again, that scene is still there. The two of you are still there, going through some issue. This time you become an elephant and you watch the entire scene between yourself and the other person as an elephant. And as an elephant, notice how it feels. Even as they're going through their issue. As an elephant, how does it feel for you? And then become yourself again. And you're going to do it again, this time as a bird. As a bird, you go into that scene where the two of them are having a problem. And as a bird, you watch them, you notice what's going on. You can fly in and out, you can move away, you can come back. And as a bird, notice how it feels. And then become yourself again. And as yourself now, if you think of that incident again, notice how you feel. And then you can, when you're ready, you can open your eyes and come back. I'm going to play a forgiveness song for you. And this is a tool that's available for anyone to use at any time. It's on my YouTube channel and other platforms. So please subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is G.L.Sampoorna, and you'll have easy access to it. When I play the song, as you listen, you can allow different people that you would like to forgive to come up in your mind. Or you can focus on one person. It's your choice. And allow it to happen naturally. If you think of one person and somebody else comes up, it's okay. You can work on whatever comes up. The unconscious will bring up whatever is right for you. And allow whatever is coming to come. Don't stress too much over it has to be this, it has to be that. And if no one comes to your mind, even if some random thing comes up, it's fine. Once I wasn't well, I was lying in bed for more than a week, and I just played the song, Forgive song, several times a day, and images were just coming, flitting through my mind. And each person that came up, the release and forgiveness was happening automatically because the words itself created that. And because it's a song, it goes into the subconscious mind and just allows it to happen naturally. Later on, I realized that I had a huge amount of release with various people who had popped up. So you can do that now. And later when you do it at home, you can just let it happen in the background. So I'll play the song now. You'll close your eyes and listen. Is that fine?
Yes.
Yeah.
I forgive, I let go, I wholly forgive. I forgive, I let go, I wholly forgive.
I forgive myself, I do forgive my family, my friends, I forgive myself, I do forgive my family, my friends, I forgive.
I forgive, I let go, I wholly forgive. I forgive, I let go, I wholly forgive. I am free and they are free. I am free to live my life. I am free and they are free. I am free to live my life. I'm free to be just me. 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 I forgive, I let go, I wholly forgive. I forgive, I let go, I wholly forgive.
I release the past and forgive actions of hate. I forgive. I release the past and forgive actions of hate. I forgive.
Forgive, I let go. I wholly forgive. I forgive, I let go. I wholly forgive. I am free and they are free. I am free to live my life. I am free and they are free. I am free to live my life. I'm free to be just me. 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 I forgive, I let go, I wholly forgive. I forgive, I let go, I wholly forgive.
Everyone in my life, I do forgive, whether alive or dead. I forgive everyone in my life. I do forgive, whether alive or dead. I forgive.
I forgive, I let go, I wholly forgive. I forgive, I let go, I wholly forgive. I am free and they are free. I am free to live my life. I am free and they are free. I am free to live my life. I'm free to be just me. 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 I'm forgiven, I'm forgiven. I'm wholly forgiven. I'm forgiven, I'm forgiven. I'm wholly forgiven.
By my own self, I'm forgiven. By family, by friends, I'm forgiven. By my own self, I'm forgiven. By family, by friends, I'm forgiven.
I'm forgiven, I'm forgiven. I'm wholly forgiven. I'm forgiven, I'm forgiven. I'm wholly forgiven. I am free and they are free. I am free to live my life. I am free and they are free. I am free to live my life. I'm free to be just.
Whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes and come back. So with that, we come to a close with the presentation. And if you have any questions or anything, you're free to ask.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sampoorna. That was wonderful. And the song was so beautiful at the end.
So the song is longer. I
Yes.
kind of closed it because it didn't want to take too much of your time.
No, it was very beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing it. And now, as you said, we will have a Q&A. So if there are any questions, I'd like people to unmute themselves and ask the question.
Ma'am, what's available on YouTube? More than that, is there any availability on YouTube also?
The song?
Good evening. First of all, I want to thank you. Then about song or any detailed of this forgiveness workshop, any related work is available on YouTube on your channel?
The song is available, and there are some talks also available on YouTube.
Madam.
Right. Thank you. So extremely obliged. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
It is a very hello, madam.
Yeah.
Ravi Prakash here. It is one of the best lectures I have ever heard, and very much needed for all the urbanites. And if I can be excused, especially for the women folk, because they are basically people who just keep suppressed emotion like anything without even knowing that they themselves get hurt. My question to you is simple. I just want to know whether do you really regularly conduct workshops on this?
Yes, yes.
When is your next workshop and where it is?
We have an in-person workshop which is for 3 days, and that is in January. But we also have the online workshops which can be done anytime. We have it also on our website, and it's like whenever anybody wants to do it, we do it.
Do you mean to say that online version is going to be one-to-one?
Online version is it's pre-recorded course, and it's already there. So we play it whenever anybody wants it.
Well, it is a pre-recorded course, is it? Do you mean to say that recorded course will be able to sort out the emotional problems of an individual who is unique?
Yeah, it worked out. It really, I never expected it myself. It's a very reasonable question to ask.
Yeah.
I never expected it could be so powerful, but it turned out to be very powerful. And when I said I did for 41 days, I repeated it also. It's the same online thing.
Okay, then I would be the first person to take it up for very valid reason. I'll get in touch with you. However, I know for sure I'm going to get your contact details. Thanks a lot indeed.
Thank you.
For a very wonderful program.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you very much. This is Dr.Sampoorna, Umapa here from Kormangla. I mean, I'm just asking, is this an initiation? What you talked about 41 days? How does it work? Do we need a guru? Do we need somebody to initiate?
No, it's not an initiation. It is a program where it's you're led through the whole process.
Okay.
And it could be just done as a one-time thing. It need not be done for 41 days. But when I attended it for myself once, I had so much release, and I said, I want to do this for 41 days.
Okay.
So then I started the 41-day program. I was doing it for myself and a few others. Okay. And then so many other people wanted to register, and it became a proper program. Okay. And along the way, as we were doing it, I felt, after 10 days, I felt, okay, now we need to do something a little different. So it started evolving as we did it. Okay. And then again, after another 10 days, I said, now we need to bring in something more. And whatever I felt like I needed, and that's what everybody else also needed. So it became, there's a lot of repetition, and at the same time, there is a progression also. And on the last day, there's a closing. So there are 4 variations within the 41 days, okay. Which is extremely powerful, because different layers come up, and different perspectives also come.
Okay.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hello.
Yes, yes.
How can we contact you later for joining any online courses?
I think Nandini has put our details on the chat.
So you
Yes, the details are on the chat. Kindly look in the chat box.
If you look up the chat box, you'll find
Yeah, yeah.
Very good evening, madam.
Sorry?
Very good evening. I'm Tejaswi from Vijayawada.
Yeah, good evening.
It was really a wonderful session, though I could attend only for last half an hour or so. I have a small doubt, madam. Like, it's like when you teach us this basic process, there was one thing where you wanted us to visualize the scene of like being an ant, elephant, and bird, right? Like we don't know how they perceive it. How do we imagine in their place? Like how we see the situation?
Just as you, it's just in your imagination, no? So as an ant, when you're so small and you're seeing that huge face and you're seeing all that, what are the feelings that come up? Then when you're an elephant, you're so huge and you're seeing these two small people doing some, funny faces and talking and all that, then what is the feeling that's coming up for you? And then as a bird where you can just keep flying off, what's the feeling that's coming up? So when you see it in different perspectives, it'll change how you feel also.
Being so much addicted to human thinking and all, like can we see from their perspective like how if it's really elephant, how it
no, it's not about whether that's exactly how they are feeling. It's just for you to shift your perspective. And that's just something that we're doing here. In the forgiveness workshop, we don't have that. We have something else for perspective.
Can I speak up? Can I speak up?
When your book on forgiveness is coming, when your book on forgiveness will be in the market available?
Oh, hopefully next year.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sampoorna, can I speak up?
Yeah.
My name is Rajam.
Yeah, Rajam.
You know, of this entire process, because I am a bit activist, a bit of feminist, a bit of angry old woman. So with all this lovely things, society won't change. My daughter won't change, my mother-in-law won't change. I will be once again the sufferer. And women have been doing, at least in India, for millions and millions and millions. All our role models are who didn't even curse their mother-in-law. So what do we do? How much practical it will be?
It's very practical. It's very practical, Rajam, because when we release, they won't change because there's some learning to come up for us. So once we release all that charge that we have inside of us and we become free, we have healed and integrated that part of ourselves, then that projection is no longer there. So the unconscious does not bring up that behavior in front of us anymore. So even if that person is like that, they'll stop behaving like that with us. You'll actually see the difference. They'll stop behaving that way with us. That's why I said it's a very proactive method. And you'll...
But our historical heroes didn't do it. Ramayana and Mahabharata and Gita and all. We killed them. Millions and millions, we killed them.
They killed them.
One woman was abducted.
That is with different reasons, there are so many things around the stories. So
not the story. World War is not a story. Revolutions are not a story. This happened. Partition is not a story.
Yeah. So in all those situations, ultimately forgiveness is required to bring in peace and harmony into the world.
That takes 3 generations minimum.
Yeah.
By then, Second World War will be there.
It can take 3 generations. It can take more. At least somewhere we begin the journey. And
I should be the victim.
We don't want to be the victim.
I know. So I should make myself a fodder for the tranquility and the peace.
You will be the person bringing it in. You're not the victim. You start bringing in the peace into the world. Start working on each of us. As we start working on ourselves, we are healing the planet.
But the whole thing is, what I am understanding is that you cannot change anybody, right, except yourself.
When we
So
change,
all this is
everybody
to
around us
improve
also
yourself.
changes.
How can you change anybody? Nobody will change because you're
When we
telling them to
change,
change.
when we change something within ourselves,
yeah,
there's already a change. The
yeah,
equation
that's right.
changes.
And that change is permanent, you know,
The
because then
equation
everybody,
changes.
yeah, then everybody looks good. You don't hate anybody. Forgive
No,
and
it's
forget
not,
happens.
not
So,
just that I don't hate anybody. The equation changes.
yeah,
I'm no longer the same person that they were interacting with.
yeah,
So then they are not going to behave the same way with me anymore.
correct. That's right. So we have to change. We cannot change
Yeah,
anybody.
we begin with change within ourselves. The first
Yeah.
person to change is ourselves.
Yeah.
I think two
That's
people have had their hands up. Ramesh?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Sampoorna. I actually had a question, and actually, I must tell you that today's satsang has come at the best possible time for our School of Ancient Wisdom community as well. So really, it probably is divinely ordained. But the questions I had was, one was, you mentioned that it is a connection between our inner soul and what else? Our forgiveness is the connection between the soul and...
Between the wounded self, the part that's feeling wounded, and our core state. So it's like a bridge that is there.
Wounded self and
our core.
Core, is it? Okay.
Yeah, core state, our essence, the truth of who we are. No, this is the bridge. So
right.
we close ourselves off because of the wounds, and then we are not able to access that loving part of ourselves.
Got it. So and one more thing was, you've done this research from a perhaps an intellectual and emotional perspective. Do you also see a spiritual or that dimension in your research and in your course?
I did not measure the spiritual dimension, but automatically I find that when people are working on, especially doing forgiveness work, whatever we would call spiritual levels are automatically raised, and people become more in tune with themselves.
Yes.
They feel a deeper connection with themselves. They care more for society. They care more for the environment. I find a lot of changes in people. It happens naturally.
Okay. And have you come across techniques like the Ho'oponopono?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Ho'oponopono is beautiful.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, Urvashi.
Good evening. It's my first time here, and I'm Dr. Kandan. I'm a medical doctor, and I've only come in here through an invite by Suma Varugis.
Okay.
So yeah, I must compliment you on a fantastic session. I was just curious, once we did the exercises, is there a similarity with the emotional freedom techniques? I mean, is there some bit of that? Because is it a sort of a distracting yourself? I mean, they do tapping.
No.
Is it any pressure?
No, because like I said, conscious forgiveness, for it to be genuine conscious forgiveness, we need to process the emotions. Without processing the emotions, then even if we feel good for the moment, it's going to come up in some other way. And those kind of results that people have, where so many changes in such deep, and they last, the changes are lasting. In fact, I would like to share one more thing in relation to this. With my research, what we found was, I did a follow-up, and I expected that initially there will be a increase in well-being and increase in forgiveness and all that. And after a while, it will kind of go down a little bit, and then it will plateau there. That is what I expected. So I did the testing immediately after, and then after a week, and then after 3 months. So now what happened was, it increased immediately after the workshop, and then it went further up, and it went further up, the well-being. So it lasts. And some of them, I unofficially tested them again after a year, and it was fine. It didn't go back. So that's because the emotions are actually processed.
Excuse me,
Yes.
this is Professor Balasubramanian from Hyderabad. I was absolutely, we are extremely grateful to you. It was a wonderful session. I think it's an extremely useful session for anybody and everybody. And it is mainly for improving ourselves, and it gives so much of satisfaction for ourselves.
Right.
And, if others are continuing, the same way, whatever, they're doing, I don't think, that matters to us anyway. It is not going to affect us. So I think it was a wonderful session. Thank you very much. I am very, very grateful to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, Pushpa?
Yes, thank you. I really enjoyed your talk. It was very enlightening. One question I want to ask you this, you said you had done it before once and you had a lot of release and a second time. And then you also did the 41 days one twice and still had a lot of release. How many times do we need to do it to really release? I mean, when you think you do it the first or maybe the second time, okay, you may feel I released it. But if you are still feeling that you need, there's so much of release, I mean, how often and how long you got to do that?
No, it's a lifelong journey. And it's not the same thing that I was working on, no? Every day a different thing was coming up. And I was very happy that more and more stuff was coming up. So it was different people, it was all kinds of things. It was, I was working on my father, I was working on my mother's perspective of my father, so many different things that came up. As you work, it becomes more and more subtle and deeper layers. And there would be something that happened that day that might come up. Every day there's something happening, right? Something or the other happens in life. And
okay.
I, like I said, I don't look at whether it's big or small. Something has happened, work it through and be done with it.
Okay. One more thing. So if I have something against, let's say, one person, I may have a lot of issues, but this particular person is my main issue.
Yeah.
Then how many times have I got to work with it to release it with that particular person?
No, Pushpa, it's not like how many times you have to work with that particular person. It's just whatever you feel. And then you have the tools, so you can continue also using it on your own. Here, because when you're being led and all that, it's easier for it to go deeper. But even if you do it once, and then after that you have the tool, the tools, okay, I can do this, then you can keep doing it. And in the 3-day, in the in-person workshop, the 3-day one, there we take one person and we focus on that through the whole workshop.
Okay.
So there's like it's continuously on that person.
All right. And how do you know, like, okay, finally, okay, I've done it and I feel okay inside, I feel okay, I've released it. But how do you really know that, okay, it's released?
You'll feel it within yourself. You'll feel that there is a shift that has happened. And sometimes you'll feel, for now, only this much can happen. And then after some time, again, when you're feeling ready, something more may come up and then you may be able to work on it. But you'll know. And sometimes people say, I worked on this person and then as soon as I went home, that person called me. That also happens, that kind of...
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, yeah, Bindya.
Yeah, hello. Actually, I joined the session a little late. I don't know if you covered this already, but I had a question like, probably I also, taking the similar path of forgiving and improving myself rather than, looking at others, because I feel if I can bring the change in myself, I will automatically see the change in others. So in this process, I had this question, like sometimes, for example, you have forgiven somebody, but you still have that fear, like, maybe I may get hurt again. Then what? Because I want to trust again. I want to, move forward. But
so
what if...
That was covered, but what it actually is that when you forgive at the emotional level, at the heart level, not with just a decision, but through processing your emotions,
Okay.
then it will not, you would have healed that aspect of yourself. So once you've healed that aspect of yourself, others will not treat you that same way. So by forgiving them, you're not going to be taken advantage of by them. It will be the other way around. It will be the other way around. A lot of people have that fear. So it will be the other way around, where they'll stop taking advantage of you. They'll start respecting you because you respect yourself.
Okay, got it. So because that is what something I get a little question mark, like, maybe people start thinking, okay, like, she's forgiven, so it's like ready to be taken for granted, and so that's ma'am, by any chance, would it be possible to share this recording or any platform that we could just go through?
I think School of Ancient Wisdom is going to have it on there.
Recorded it, and there's a link so that they can go directly to that link and hear it.
Great. Thank you so much. That will be really great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Sania.
Sania, are you there?
Okay, she's not.
Oh, sorry. I unmuted myself. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Hi, Sampoorna.
Hi.
So, so based on going along the lines of what many others have been asking certain questions, but just now, a moment ago, you said your 3 days workshop, you take one person. Now, the moment you said that, for me, there are like quite a few biggies that I really have felt either very hurt or completely betrayed, or, the trust has been like, or you've been really, really wounded internally, so much so that then it becomes difficult for a moment to decide which thing to take. I mean, especially if it's just 2 and 3, not sure which direction to go. So there itself, there's a complete, like, what do I do?
So usually in the workshop, when we're going through it, somebody will come up and that's what we take. And usually in the in-person workshop, I say start with your mother or father. In fact, start with mother, because then everything starts from there, right? And then the second person will be father. So like that, we start with mother, father. That's the best way to go.
Okay.
Even other relationships would be an outcome. The problem there would be an outcome of what happened in early life.
Okay, because
even if it was not something between you and your mother might have been going through stuff, and then you pick up that stuff.
That's more like it, right?
So it's
right.
Very good. Yeah, it's very good to start with mother.
Okay, I'm getting quite a bit of an insight, because when you said mother and father, I was thinking with my mom, actually, touch wood. Yeah, always there are things that are there, but going through so many other processes in life, I'm touch wood quite at peace and fine with her. But then when you said the things that happened with my mother, with other people, and that I do see history repeating itself. Right? So so then those things can be resolved.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Sampoorna. And one more question on the same, on the thing of your 41-day program. Is that available online? And in that, are we allowed to take different people on day 1, 3?
Yeah. Whatever comes up. It's an online program, and it's whatever comes up is what you take up.
Okay. And is it safe, Sampoorna, to do this on your own when you're doing a 41-day?
We kind of monitor.
In terms of when it's you all are available online for it, is it?
Yeah, we kind of touch base with you, and you WhatsApp us if there's anything, and you kind of.
Okay, fine. I thought it was online, just recorded, and no connection with you guys.
It is, but see, sometimes we run it as a 41-day online thing where a group gets together and does it together.
Okay.
And otherwise, it's also done on now we have it on the website also, so it's also gone like that. And if it's on the website, then we kind of have a contact where you can tell whatever if something is happening, and then we respond to you. We tell you what to do.
Okay,
so
great.
You're not left off on your own.
Perfect, great. Okay, fine. Thanks, Sampoorna.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And
one last question.
Sampoorna, are you having anything in Bangalore?
No, right now everything is in Chennai and online.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
One last question before we wind up.
Actually, when Ms. Sanya spoke, what we have gone through, but what our parents have also gone through, our mother especially. I can see a lot of skeletons coming out of the cupboard, in my own life when I see these things. And it suddenly makes a connection as to how you can approach it in a different way. I remember long back, I went through this program called the Landmark Forum. This was way back in '97. And at that time, they also spoke about how many of our personality traits come from our childhood relationships, especially with our source relationships, like our parents. So have you observed this in your research, Sampoorna-ji?
I didn't test that for my research because there was only that much I could do. But that's a very common thing which is there all the time, that it repeats, patterns repeat. And so if you work on the source, then it's dealt with. So instead of working on 10 people, one after the other, you work on that one, and then everything else gets dealt with.
Right, wonderful, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so with this, I'd like to thank you so much for this wonderful session, and we look forward to having you at the school shortly. I can see there are a lot of newcomers, so I'd like to tell you that every Thursday, we have very good speakers who speak to us. It's called our Thursday Satsang from 6:30 to 8. Those of you who are new and would like to be on our WhatsApp group, kindly give your name and number, and you will be put on to our WhatsApp group. Okay. Now, I'd also like to tell you that this weekend, we have a workshop, Saturday and Sunday up to lunchtime on Ho'oponopono by Meera. Can we have Swati? Can we have that poster, please? Swati? So anyone interested in that, kindly contact
Yes, I'll
Swati.
share that.
Will you share that, Swati?
Yes, I'll share that.
And also share next week's Thursday
Sure.
Satsang. Okay. So as I said, we'd like you to join our WhatsApp group. Kindly give your name and number, and Swati will include your names. And those of you who would like to come for this Ho'oponopono, please contact the number below. And it's this Saturday, starts at 10, gets over on Sunday in the afternoon.
And Sajani, can I just say one thing?
Yes.
For our, I think Nandini has given our contact information.
Yes.
So if you want to be on the WhatsApp group, you can just WhatsApp that number which is given there.
Sure. Thank you so much. Now, this is about the Ho'oponopono, Meera Narayan Sankriti. She's really good. There are 2 numbers given over there. It's highly subsidized, the program, because you can come and stay there. It's very beautiful. You get all your meals and the program. It's only 1,400. So I would like you to come. Even if you don't attend the program, just being in that space is amazing at the School of Ancient Wisdom. All right. So thank you. And with that, we come to the end of this program. Thank you, everyone, for being with us. I request Ramesh to propose a vote of thanks, a formal vote of thanks, followed by the Loka Samasta. Ramesh?
Well, Dr. Sampoorna, as I mentioned a little while earlier, I believe it was literally like divinely ordained, because you come at a perfect time, to speak about forgiveness. And believe it or not, this word forgiveness has been coming up in many quarters. In fact, this month, our School of Ancient Wisdom newsletter called The Torchbearer, the topic announced last month was mercy and forgiveness. So it is literally like, just this week, a couple of days earlier, our dear co-founder, Mr. Ram Menon, had passed on. And he was one of the, shining lights of our school, and we're very grateful to him. But of course, I mean, in some cases, when a karma stands in front of us, the light also throws a shadow. So there's a small aspect of forgiveness amongst the community that had to also happen. But your topic really covered that aspect so beautifully. And when you said forgiveness is the connection between the wounded self and our core, many times in this world where, Eastern cultures, they say, are more community-based, and Western sensibilities are more individual-based. Now, if you look at Bharat and all our people, we are kind of, we have been taken in by, after going through 300 to 400 years of intense poverty, we are quite enamored by Western ideologies and Western technologies. And our own Gurukul system had been dismantled, which we are slowly coming back to. So we have also taken on this individualistic approach, and that is where, as you rightly put it, our wounded self, happens more often because we are still identified so much with the lower ego. And where they have egos and individualism, this is truly the need of the hour everywhere, be it our families, on our workplaces. And as they say, the success of any civilization is based on the robustness of its families. So really, it is such an important thing. I mean, we couldn't have highlighted it better. And I wish there were more people like you. We really need more people like you around the world, actually, to make our homes and our workplaces a much better place. So thank you so much for this program. I can see by the sheer enthusiasm that how people have come forward. In my own experience, for the many questions that people had, I too had those questions of, if we forgive others, won't they take advantage of us and won't that pain continue? But actually, in my experience, it does not. It is as per our own karmas, and as we forgive and move on, some wonderful things happen in our lives and in the lives of those we forgive too. So thank you so much for bringing all that up, Dr. Sampoorna, and it would be lovely to have a workshop with you at the school. We really would look forward to that.
Thank you so much.
Most welcome. On that note of gratitude, let us sit straight with our back, neck, and head aligned for the Loka Samasta. As we all know, we are all souls. We're not just this body, and we're all really interconnected in an unseen and invisible way, maybe. So we will pray for all those loved ones in our communities, because as we send these prayers out, there is healing and it has been experienced. So not just for our loved ones, and of course, especially remembering Dr. Mr. Ram Menon. He's been a wonderful friend and a very kind, generous, and I'd always call him a loving uncle that I never had. Such a wonderful person he was. And he will remain in our hearts in that manner. So, and also all the other souls, who require healing, and to send out peace and loving blessings to the world as well, along with wisdom, as we do the Loka Samasta. So let us all take a deep breath. Let go and center ourselves within. Paying attention to that silence, which is the language of the soul. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Tat Sat Brahmarpanamastu.
Hello. Ramesh, thank you everyone for being with us. Kindly mute yourself. There's some people talking. We look forward to seeing you next Thursday at Karma and its Effect. Kindly mute yourself, Swati. Swati, please mute someone who's talking so loudly. Swati, kindly mute everyone. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you so much, Dr. Sampoorna. It was a wonderful session. We look forward to seeing everyone every Thursday. Next Thursday, it's Karma and its Effect on Remedies. And I really think a lot of you should come for our weekend program on Ho'oponopono. So goodbye, everyone. All the best. And thank you for being with us.